On October 15th, the India's telecom minister, Jyotiraditya Scindia, they announced that the country would allocate the satellite spectrum directly, without auctions. This decision follows the international norms. Where most countries don't auction satellite spectrum, the government believes that auctioning it would put India out of the sync with the global practices. If the India want to come up with the syncing of the global practices, they need to allocate the spectrum directly and they should not come up with the bidding process. Reliance Jio obviously wasn't happy with this decision. They have sent letters to the telecom minister and the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, which is TRAI, arguing that the decision was rushed and the whole industry wasn't consulted. Hello listeners. Today we are going to talk about the topic, the India's internet war. Exactly. There's an internet war going on between the Elon Musk and the Mukesh Ambani. Now we need to see who will ultimately win this war. So recently, India made a big decision about how it will manage the satellite spectrum, a type of radio wave that satellite uses to deliver the internet services. Instead of auctioning the spectrum where companies bid to buy the rights, the government has now chosen that they would allocate it directly. This means that they will decide which company gets to use it without a bidding process. Earlier, there was a situation where each and every spectrum was basically won with the help of bidding. But now the government is selecting that they would allocate it according to their preference. Now, this might sound technical, but it's a decision that involves the billion of dollars in future investments. It has sparked a rivalry between the two big names, which is Mukesh Ambani and the Elon Musk. Here's what's happening. See, India is expanding its digital reach, especially if we see in the areas where traditional cable-based internet like fiber optics can't be easily built. There, the satellite would be providing the internet facility. Exactly. Satellite internet is seen as a solution for connecting the rural and remote areas. And as we can see, the country like India, which is on the developing stage, they need to develop the rural areas, the village areas, so that they can compete with the cities. So now, satellite internet is seen as a solution that they would be connecting the rural and the remote areas. It brings the internet to the places where laying down physical cable isn't practical. But with the help of satellite, the internet facilities can be provided, right? As this new market takes off, companies are competing to be the ones that they would be delivering the internet services through the satellites. Now, one of the major players is the Elon Musk company, which is the Starlink. They have launched thousands of satellites into the low Earth orbit, and already they provide the satellite internet in the many countries. So for them, we can say that they are already having the knowledge, they are having the expertise, and they can easily come up with the spectrum and they will be providing these satellite-based internet services. So it is very easy for them. Also, Musk wants that the Starlink should be the part of India's digital wave. As we can see, every time the country is changing its status from the developing country to the developed country, so the journey between this, the developing and developed country, many of the people come together and they want to be the part of this journey. And the same case goes with the Elon Musk. The Elon Musk also want to be the part of the India's digital wave. On the one side is the Mukesh Ambani of Reliance company. Through its Reliance Jio, they are aiming to be the key player in the satellite broadband. Ambani and the Reliance Jio, they both are basically pushing for the spectrum auction because they believe it would be fairer. Why? Because with the help of the auction, they are thinking that from the auction, the person who would be bidding the most would win the spectrum. An auction means a company would bid for spectrum licenses, which could bring in billions for the government. This is how India has been usually allocating the mobile network spectrums from so long, like for the 5G and for the 4G. The government has always came up for the bidding where they have allocated the spectrum to the ones who was having the highest bidding. Reliance Jio now argues that this method levels the playing field as only companies willing to invest heavily like them could enter the market, because the one who would be bidding the most, the one who is having the worth, who is having the money, who is having the capital, they could only win the spectrum. But when the government is thinking that they would be directly allocating the spectrum to the companies, then this would not allow the companies to bid. Next thing, on the one hand is the Musk Starlink. They prefer that the government should allocate the spectrum directly. Now, why is it necessary that the government should allocate it directly? Because in the foreign also, the same concept is going on, where the foreign, that is any of the country, they basically allocate the spectrum directly and they not come up with the bidding process. The government over there in the foreign countries allocate the spectrum directly. They argue that globally, satellite broadband spectrum isn't auctioned, and doing so in India would be an outlier. Why? Because when each and every country is allocating the spectrum directly, why the India should auction the spectrum? And doing so in India would be an outlier. According to the Starlink, satellite spectrum is often shared. Unlike the mobile networks that need the dedicated frequency bands, but over here the satellite spectrum is shared. An auction would make satellite internet more expensive, making it harder for the companies like Starlink to offer the affordable services in remote areas. And as we are aware, the government wants that there should be the affordability in the internet services which are provided in the remote areas. So for this reason, the government should allocate the spectrum directly to the companies, and they should not come up with the bidding process. Now, on October 15th, the India's telecom minister, Jyotiraditya Scindia, they announced that the country would allocate the satellite spectrum directly, without auctions. This decision follows the international norms. Where most countries don't auction satellite spectrum, the government believes that auctioning it would put India out of the sync with the global practices. If the India want to come up with the syncing of the global practices, they need to allocate the spectrum directly, and they should not come up with the bidding process. Reliance Jio obviously wasn't happy with this decision. They have sent letters to the telecom minister and the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, which is TRAI, arguing that the decision was rushed and the whole industry wasn't consulted. Jio believes that directly allocating will favor the global companies like the Starlink and the Amazon's Project Kuiper. They argue that these foreign players will get an advantage by not having to go through the costly auction process that Indian telecom companies have faced in the past for mobile networks. For the mobile networks, there had been continuously the auction process going on. But this time, the government, the telecom minister, they are deciding that they would sync with the global practices, directly allocating it to the companies. And obviously, they would favor the global companies like Starlink and Amazon's Project Kuiper. This clash is intense because India's satellite broadband market is expected to grow at an annual rate of 36%. Exactly. Revenues could reach $1.9 billion by 2030, making it a lucrative space. For Elon Musk, this decision is the key, as it would allow the Starlink to roll out its services in India quickly and at a lower cost. Meanwhile, Mukesh Ambani sees this as a challenge to Jio's dominance in the Indian telecom market, because we can see that Jio has not been basically making the ears, but still they are having the huge market share in the country. But this dominance might lose its chance. Satellite internet could become the game changer, expanding the services to areas with the little or no connectivity. Where the rural areas are not able to basically come up with the physical lines, then there would be the satellite internet being provided. But here's the catch. This disruption might take longer than it seems. Why? Because Starlink, which is already operational in the other countries, has a much higher ARPU, average revenue per user, than Indian telecom services. Starlink's yearly average revenue per user is around 1.5 lakh, while Reliance Jio's monthly average revenue per user is rupees 195, which happens to be 2,340 per year. So compared to the Starlink's yearly average revenue per user 1.5 lakh, and Reliance Jio's average revenue per user is 195 rupees for a month, and for year it is 2,340. There is a huge gap between this. Yes, you could say this is an apple to orange comparison because the technology is different. But in a market like India, where the affordability drives the mass disruption, this price gap is way too large to even consider it. Plus, there are technological challenges also. Satellite broadbands need special equipment like satellite phones because it operates on the higher frequency bands than the traditional networks. Also, this means that for most people to use the satellite internet, they had need to buy new devices, making it even pricier, right? Because for using the satellite internet, you need the satellite phones. So, while Starlink could technically start offering services soon, the high cost might limit its reach to a niche market, at least at first. It's unlikely to become as widespread as previous technologies like 3G and 4G, which we have seen, but this satellite internet needs some time to adjust to the Indian market. But with the giants like Elon Musk, Starlink, and Jio's Reliance, they are going head to head. So this story is far from over. There will surely be the twists and the turns, and we will keep you updated on all the latest developments, what is going on with the telecom ministry, and how they would be allocating the spectrum for this satellite internet. I hope this video you have understood the topic, that how the internet war is going on, and also what will be the conclusion and who will ultimately win it. Thank you for watching the video.